In autumn 2011, Occupy Wall Street, a protest movement against growing social and economic inequality, started in the United States and soon spread across Europe. For days, a large crowd of protesters gathered on the Paradeplatz, Zurich's financial square, to express their anger over excessive corporate salaries and financial unaccountability. 1 year after the beginning of the movement, the number of protesters in front of the banks had diminished drastically. What happened to the others? Have people abandoned their political views? The Zurich architect Gunnar Jauch stayed true to the movement. A year later, he could still be found protesting at Paradeplatz.
I believe that change often begins on a small scale. That's always been the case. One can only change things if you stick to your ideas. It's important to give each other hope.
Jauch is a former member of the Radical Party and a Freemason. A year ago, he protested wearing a coat made from money, and naked covered with a barrel. His protest was creative and peaceful and attracted some media attention. How does he think people feel about the movement today?
The movement will always be present. The 99% are still here, and they are still as unhappy and outraged as they were a year ago. I'm quite sure of this.
Philipp Lüpfe, the former editor-in-chief of the newspaper Tages-Anzeiger, is considered a critic of capitalism and has written many editorials examining fair business practices. He's also convinced that change is necessary.
With every crisis, be it the euro crisis or the ecological crisis, we get closer to realizing that it can't continue this way. Fear, but also hope, is what sparked the Occupy movement, and I believe it will continue.
Hans-Peter Portman was the only banker to address the protesters on the Paradeplatz. To the bank director and Radical Party cantonal parliamentarian, the decline of the movement is not surprising.
The majority of society likes to make progress in their work and have a career. And they want to be rewarded for their efforts. That's why I believe that such movements will never manage to convince a majority of the people. When you look at the past, you see that all these systems of equal distribution, or redistribution, or basic salaries have collapsed. Not because of Western society or the economy, but because people didn't want it in the end.
Gunnar Jauch sees things differently, and so he keeps up his peaceful fight for a fair world.
People still show a lot of goodwill towards the movement, because it's a peaceful protest. It's a movement based on the principle of love. For me, this is one of the most fascinating aspects. If this were done all over the world, we'd have paradise on earth.
Universell durchgesetzt werden, hätten wir eigentlich ein Paradies.